Thank you. We'll call the July 3rd, 2023 Willmar City Council to order. Roll call.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. All members of the council are present. Councilmember Osk is participating remotely this evening.
All right, thank you, Kyle. Let's stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Something that I pointed out before when I was on the council, and this is just something that I practice when saying the Pledge of Allegiance, there's a comma after under God, not before. So it reads, of the United States of America, one nation under God, not one nation under God. Follow me? Mm-hmm. So I'm with 4th of July tomorrow. I'm just recognizing that it says one nation under God. Yes.
Since it is 4th of July tomorrow, I just ask everybody to keep in their thoughts and prayers all the MIAs and, believe it or not, prisoners of war that are still out there.
All right. Thanks, Mike. All right. So let's move on to the proposed additions or deletions to the agenda.
Make a motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
We got a motion and a second. Discussion. There being none, roll call.
Councilmember Osk,
Aye.
Davis,
Aye.
Schuldis,
Aye.
Nelson,
Aye.
Fagerly,
Aye.
Osmus,
Aye.
Butterfield,
Aye.
O'Brien.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Motion passes. All right, consent items. Kyle.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Members, the items on the consent agenda this evening are consider approval of the council minutes of June 20th, 2023, the Planning Commission minutes draft of June 21st, 2023, Willmar Municipal Utility Commission minutes of June 26th, the accounts payable report 6/14 through 6/27, 2023, a resolution accepting final project and final pay for project number 2101-B, a facility agreement with the Willmar Public Schools, West Central Hockey Lease Agreement Amendment, advertisement agreement with Willmar Hockey Boosters, an advertisement agreement with 100 Yard Football Club, an advertisement agreement with Willmar Boys Soccer Booster Club, concession stand agreement with Willmar Baseball Association, concession stand agreement with Willmar Softball Association, a appointment to the Rice Hospital Board for Joyce Sundberg, and for your information, the CVB minutes of May 16th, 2023, and the CCT minutes of March 28th, 2023.
All right, any questions for Kyle?
I have a question on item B, I guess, the draft minutes of the Planning Commission. Will we see the final, and I don't know if that would be you or Justice, the final minutes?
Yeah, I intend to include the draft and the final versions of all the minutes going forward.
Thank you.
All right. Any other questions? If not, that's a simple motion, but we're going to do it on roll call. I'm looking for a
I'll
motion.
make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Okay, we got a motion and a second. Any discussion? If not, roll call, please.
Councilmember O'Brien,
Aye.
Butterfield,
Aye.
Osmus,
Aye.
Fagerly,
Aye.
Nelson,
Aye.
Schuldis,
Aye.
Davis,
Aye.
Osk.
Aye.
8 ayes, 0 nays.
Motion passes. All right, there's no items removed from the consent agenda. We'll move on to the open forum. And the first person on the open forum is Cal Minor. Cal, welcome. You've got 3 minutes. Well, I'm sorry, but we'll cut you off at 3 minutes.
Well, that wouldn't be the first time I've been cut off. Cal Minor, I've grown up in this city for over 65 years. I was a public works employee for 37 years. I understand tonight you've got some new members that be getting jobs. I'd like to compliment Gary and Justin. You moved them up from within, and what a great choice. They've been an asset to the city for as long as I've known them. And so with that, whatever they have to bring to the table, they have a lot of knowledge. As I said, I've been here for a number of years. I'd like to refer to the newspaper article on Wednesday, June 14, concerning the community center / city hall. From the day the city offices moved into the old medical facility, which is way over 50 years ago, that has never been a good fit between the wet basement, the size, the meeting areas, etc. Now, many of the people we now have in administration, whether it be on the council or in jobs at the city, have been here either short-term or they've only gotten here because of a job, and they don't necessarily know the background of the city of Willmar, I feel. So looking at these statements, some of the ones that were made, I'm not sure everyone's on the same page for ground, water, for locations, for traffic patterns, for a number of things. There's a few things where we relied very heavily on architects who had never done a job here. We relied on business people who are very versed but maybe weren't listened to in the past. And so I feel that we've had projects that never got done the way they were anticipated. For instance, Olson Pool was not up to code the day it opened, and it still is not as far as I know. Justin would have to address that. Taunton Stadium, when it was built, did not have enough water to flush the toilets because of engineering and architects. There are some buildings that leak worse inside than outside. We have a community center that you're probably aware of that if it snows, the building had been shut down because of a collapsing roof. Public Works had to go up and take the snow off with snow loads. I had to go around that building and fix the sills on it because water was running through the walls at one time. So the comments that are made that maybe we can just Band-Aid things together or maybe we should go on the same site, I think needs to go back to some of the plat maps where it was a lot of these places were nothing but cattails and fill. And so I think sometimes the little guy at the bottom should maybe be talked to say, what was it like and why did the city do this or that? What changed and how should we go forward so we do have successful things? A new city hall is very expensive. New community center is very expensive. But I feel, it looks like nothing's happening, but I think you're doing your due diligence in looking at a lot of different aspects and try to vet them out to see what are the possible problems down the road.
That is your 3 minutes. Thank you.
So thank you.
Thank you, Cal. All right. Again, next is Chris Radel. And Chris, you have 3 minutes. Welcome. Chris, welcome back.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you, everyone. I'll just get started. My name is Christopher Riddell. I've talked to many of you already. I attended last City Council meeting to provide my thoughts regarding City Hall. There were 2 reasons that I wanted to talk about the importance of City Hall, and that is the cost and then the impact of where we decide City Hall is going to be. I spoke of the additional cost the citizens of Willmar will be incurring in the upcoming months. There is still a local option sales tax, which I support, but it certainly does add cost to families throughout the community. A huge rise in inflation that we haven't seen in generations is coming as well. A new water treatment facility and likely a new headquarters for WMU, Willmar Municipal Utilities, each of which is going to be more than likely above $15 million. And of course, the future issue of the city auditorium, something that we cannot just kick the can down the road. We have to figure out what we're going to do with that. Now, with all this being said, we have all these costs, and Aaron Backman here would tell you that we have serious issues with housing, meaning new housing going up. All of these costs impact our generation or younger generations to build, to have the money to do these things. And what I'm just trying to say, if we need a new facility for City Hall, I highly suggest City Council and the mayor and city staff to look for the most cost-effective plan that won't burden your constituents. You need to really consider what your citizens can afford moving forward in the future. Secondly, I would like all of you to seriously consider the impact of taking City Hall outside of downtown Willmar. There is a lot of positive energy that is happening in downtown. And as we've seen in the past, as businesses and consumers leave that area, there is a void that is also there. I believe that City Hall leaving downtown would jeopardize the positive energy that we have been building in that location. Thank you all very much. I really appreciate all the work you do.
Thank you, Chris. Jacob Lefevre. Welcome, Jacob.
Good evening, distinguished council members. Yes, my name is Jacob Lefevre. I was here last meeting and my time ran out, so I just wanted to finish my thoughts. A brief synopsis of my previous statement. Last meeting, I spoke about Vision Willmar and its social media manipulation on Facebook, claiming that they will contribute up to $2 million to the repaving of the parking lot if City Hall moves into the old JCPenney's location. I strongly oppose this, as the parking lot should be the responsibility of the owner to maintain and not a contingent of sale. In last weekend's Tribune issue, if any of you saw it, the front page article spoke on an estimated $10 million improvement cost to repave the mall parking lot. That's just an estimate. Rockstep Capital has only guaranteed, per this article, $500,000. So only a fraction of what it would actually cost to fix it, with a possibility of going up to $2 million. I think that this is wrong. I challenge the city council to not only pass on the City Hall location in the mall, but additionally direct city staff to develop a parking lot quality ordinance, which, if basic requirements are not met, those that are not meeting the standard of this ordinance would risk escalating fines. This would allow the city to fine any owner of any poorly maintained lot as many times as necessary to make these improvements. I put forth this proposal to the City Planning Commission in writing as well, to do just this. Lastly, I would like to draw your attention, I'm sure many of you have been to the new Walmart parking lot. It is fantastic. Walmart, the new Super Walmart, is a newer building than the mall, but they have put forth the time and effort and money into improving their parking lot, and I feel like it is better for the city. They took ownership and proved that they are a member of this community and they care about this community by doing that, in my personal opinion. Why isn't Rockstep doing the same thing? That's all I have for you today. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Jacob. All right, Luann, I'm going to call on you to introduce us to our new Public Works Director.
Oh, sure. Want to come on up? Mayor, Council, good evening and happy Independence Day tomorrow. I'd like to introduce to you, and I don't know if you guys have already met, but come on up. This is Justin. He's DeLeo. He's our new Public Works Director, pending the approval of the council this evening. He's been with the organization for 18 years, has worked as a public works operator, and is just an informal leader, I guess I would call him, within the leadership of so far. And now to put him into more of a leadership position is just the step that we chose to take. So I would like to just request that you approve him as our Public Works Director. Any questions?
All right, so you're looking for action?
I'll make a motion to
Second.
approve Justin DeLeo as our new Public Works Director.
We got a motion and a second. Justin, I'm anxious to have you on the team as the director. I go back, I knew Lowell, I knew Ron, what was the other young man?
Young man.
He was young.
Scott Ladebor.
Scott Ladebor. And then we had Gary, you got big shoes to fill,
Absolutely.
and you can do it.
Yep.
We know you can, and we're looking forward to working with you and having you work for us.
Yep.
So, anybody got comments or a motion? Well, we got the
Got the
motion.
motion
I
to
would,
make it official.
I would just add, I've known Justin for 25 years, about.
Probably a good guess.
And had the privilege of being able to work with them, and this is just a huge hire for the city. They made the right call.
Good. Mike?
Here's a tough question for you. You know we do a lot of hiring in this group, right?
Yes, yes, sir.
You got 18 years on right now. What's your plans?
My plan is at least another 18 more.
Okay.
At least. No, I just, if you'll allow me just a few minutes.
Sure, absolutely.
I'm very excited for this opportunity, very humbled. If you would have asked me 18 years ago if this was an opportunity, I would have probably laughed and said, absolutely not. Just to be able to be in this position, working with the staff that we have, administration, council, mayor, all the other departments, I've worked with them throughout the years, and I'm just, again, I'm very humbled, very, very grateful. I know I have a lot to learn, but I'm looking forward to it.
We never stop learning, Justin.
Absolutely.
Anybody else? Well, again, I look forward to working with you and getting to know you, and
Likewise.
got a good relationship with our current director, Gary, I think. But we'll work on our relationship.
Absolutely.
I won't be here in 18 years. I think. So, all right. We got a motion, we got a second. All those, you got to do a roll call. Sorry, go ahead.
Councilmember Butterfield?
Aye.
Osmus?
Aye.
Fagerly?
Aye.
Nelson?
Aye.
Davis?
Aye.
Schuldis?
Aye.
Osk?
Aye.
8 ayes, 0 nays.
O'Brien?
Mike.
Oh, I apologize, Councilmember O'Brien.
All right.
There, now it's official. 8 ayes, 0 nays.
All right. Thank you all very much.
Well,
Very-
thank you.
Very appreciative. Thank you.
All right, Luann, I want to ask you again, building maintenance technician, you,
Yes. Again, tonight, I have brought before you just a request for a new job description approval. We had a previous job description that was called a building maintenance coordinator that took care of City Hall and the auditorium and the rack and those things. And this position was Chris Simon, and he has moved to a public works operator position. So in review of that job description, it was determined that that was no longer a job that, the way it's written, there was no longer that job. It was a supervisory position. It was supposed to be in charge of like all of those buildings and all of their maintenance and some supervision of staff, which that position did not do. So we have chosen not to fill that position and instead would like to put forward this new job description, which is called a building maintenance technician. And it's mostly just removing some of that supervisory information because that's not what is the current job. So we can't fill the old position since that's not a need we have right now. So any questions about that? Julie?
Okay, so is the level or whatever that this person is that, how many other building maintenance technicians do we have?
The building maintenance technician is not a current job that we have, so that's why I'm proposing this as a new drafted position. But there's a fire department building and equipment maintenance person, worker, I think is the title for that one. And that is a position that's just for the fire hall. And then we also have another position that's a custodial position that is a lower position, a lower scoring position, I should say. It just takes care of the community center and a couple of other buildings that we have, does some lockups and things like that.
Okay, so what does this person do different than those two?
This person will be responsible for the city hall, city auditorium, rack, the airport, and also helps with the fire department if there's maintenance issues that he can help handle with, or she. So
Okay.
Just kind of removing the supervisory component of that other position. It's not needed anymore.
Okay.
Leslie?
We're moving into this building technician description because what we'd look forward to in the future is that we will have this base as building technician, and then underneath it will be the addendums for any buildings that they specifically take care of. So that's what the future will look like in our job descriptions. So if that makes more sense, so then there's not just a custodian, it's the building technician for the community center, it's the building technician for the fire department. But there'll be addendums underneath this job description instead of having all these different job descriptions. So it's more of a consolidation in the future.
Okay. So, again, stepwise pay range, this one's different than the other two positions.
Yep, this one would be a non-represented position, and we are also kind of looking at our class comp type study to get kind of a base for that. None of that has been approved or presented to you at this point in time, and so this is the way we had to move it forward now, but the goal is to make sure that those building maintenance technicians that's what all of those positions would be, but just for their specific areas of responsibility at some point in time.
Okay, because I know we were also looking at having to increase the positions out at the Civic Center. So I'm just trying to figure out what levels everybody is at on those. When you say that this position is non-represented, what do you mean?
Because it would be a new position. It's not represented when it's a new position that's approved until a union requests that.
Representation.
So they're not in a union?
Right, that's what I mean.
Are the other custodial positions in a union?
Currently, yes. But they're not falling under this job description. This is a specific job description just for the city hall, the downtown, right now, until we can get that class comp study completed and presented to you. So the goal is to get them all on the same, the equity part of that is all going to fall under that class comp study. We want to make sure they're all in the same
Right.
category.
Because I was thinking, like, even with some of the other positions in the union contract stuff that we've been working on leveling things, making it, so same vacation things, same overtime things, and we worked for years on that.
Yep.
Why wouldn't this position be under the Public Works with like the other two custodians? If the
It
Public
is.
Works
This position
is
is
their
not-
supervisor?
No, the Public Works is not the union that is the current position was represented under. It was the AFSCME General, and that one has not settled a contract yet.
Okay,
Supervisor is the Public Works Director.
got it.
That has not changed.
Okay, so just one, the other guys then, are they under general or Public Works?
General.
They're under
General.
the Public Works Director also.
So why wouldn't we put this one under general?
We do not, let's not talk about union.
It doesn't.
That's not part, that's,
Start that way.
yeah, let's not talk about the union, just part of it. Because
Well,
that
I
is
guess
not part of the discussion right now.
If we approve the,
We don't have to
Job description.
approve it in a union. You don't approve a job description in what union it's going to go.
okay,
That is not part of the job descriptions.
so then if we create a new position, there isn't anything with the unions that we have to clarify or
Nope, not right now.
that has,
When you create a job description, it is not in a union.
was that previous? What it was before? Was that in a union?
Yes. The previous job description was in a union.
And that one.
We do not have to follow that. Each union has, I hate to get into this, but the union has to ask for job descriptions to be
Position.
placed in the union. When you create a job description, you do not place it in a union. They have to ask for it.
Only new positions. If it's a replacement position, it would automatically, and it's already been brought into a union, then it would stay represented by that union, so.
Okay. Still doesn't make sense to me. Why we would, go,
The council doesn't place job descriptions in unions. The unions are the ones to place job descriptions in their union. So is all the council does is create a job description and approve a job description. It's up to unions to decide what union that job description is in.
Councilmember Nelson.
Thank you, Mayor Reese. I just had a question on the immediate supervisor. We have, I think, several positions out at Public Works. I'm just questioning why it would be the Public Works Director when there are other levels of supervisors. It would feel like this is maybe not something that should report to that level.
That's where it was reporting to previously, and because of the building that it's going to operate out of, that's where the Public Works Director's office is as well. So, I mean, we didn't change that. There aren't any, none of them report to Public Works Superintendent or the foreman or anyone else over there, so none of that.
I'm just
level.
asking why. Why not? Because we didn't have, I mean, we added back that level of supervisory. So I'm not sure why we are having individuals report directly to the director when we have other levels of supervision.
It wasn't something that we
The
addressed at
supervisors
time.
supervise the public works operators and the mechanics. The public works director supervises everybody else, the whole umbrella. And so that also then creates these buildings, maintenance people also fall under their umbrella. Because of the airport, because of all the buildings, and our supervisors our superintendent does not take care of the airport facilities. Our public works director takes care of the airport facilities. And so that's why these jobs go across different departments. And so that's why it's under the Public Works Department Director, because he goes across all these departments.
So just explain to me. So there's going to be 3 building maintenance people, different titles, whatever, but building maintenance.
Hopefully, eventually, yeah.
But they each have to take their direction each day or
No.
from the Public Works Director? Well, how does it work?
They're responsible for specific buildings and areas, and then they would just report, like that director would do their performance evaluations and help them get with the supplies that they need and the budgeting things that they need, resources. So it's not a day-to-day.
But if one of them's gone, somebody else, I mean, if you have 3 of them, somebody else picks up the other buildings?
Yep,
Yes.
and that's up to the director to make sure that that it's covered if somebody's asked off. So,
They'll have daily, weekly routines that they will follow.
correct, yep.
Yeah.
Fairly routine.
Anybody else?
Carl had his hand.
I'm good.
Okay. Well, roll call.
Mr. Mayor, we need a motion.
Oh, I'm sorry. All right, we need a motion to approve the new job description for building maintenance technician.
I'll make a motion to approve the new building maintenance technician job description.
I'll second it.
Okay, we got a motion and a second. Again, any questions? I can see
Comment?
Julie back.
Okay, so I'm just, again, I appreciate that we have brought down this position, reevaluated it. I'm concerned about, and this isn't a new position, I mean, we are replacing somebody who left, but I know that we do have more positions that are possibly going to be coming available at the Civic Center. And I'm just thinking about employees and, or we filled that one. We
We
filled
filled
that
the
one.
Civic Center.
Well, and
And-
those are public
yes.
public
Those
works
are-
operators. They are
those are
not
operators.
maintenance technician people.
Okay.
They are
It's a
not,
different-
right.
I'm just talking in general about creating positions, additional employees, and what we're paying them. And that everything is the same.
That's the goal.
And I'm not personally seeing that this position is any different than the other two, other than they have more buildings. So then the person who has two buildings, are they in a different category than just the fire department guy?
They shouldn't be, and that's something that's being addressed in the union contract negotiations and in the class comp study. So that's what.
But if
the
they're
goal is
not in a
equity.
union, how does that get addressed?
That's a potential for that, so.
So the potential for it, they do have, the union could come to them and say, would you like to join the union? And then they could be represented. Okay.
And then who approves that or makes that happen?
the
It
city-
doesn't have to have council approval.
No,
The union has to approve it, not the council.
Okay, so just in general then, for, I'm just thinking of positions. So these other positions that we had, that we've had problems with, that weren't represented. So like, we had a clerical out at the police department. We had, was there somebody at the fire department? We had like, what, 4 or 5 positions that were, what do you call it? They were unrepresented. And we had issues with where they were supposed to go or how they were supposed to negotiate their contracts, or they didn't have any negotiation for their contracts. Wouldn't it be easier? Wouldn't we want to go towards them being in a union and being represented, and then it would make it easier? Because then everybody's,
some of the categories cannot be in a union because of confidentiality in their position that's required. So, I mean, there are some people that have to be exempted from that. And so
Okay.
there will always be a handful of people that are unrepresented along with the department directors.
okay. This would not be one of those positions.
Any further questions? If not, roll call.
Councilmember Osmus,
Aye.
Fagerly,
Aye.
Nelson,
Aye.
Davis,
Aye.
Schuldis,
Aye.
Osk,
Aye.
O'Brien,
Aye.
Butterfield.
Aye.
8 ayes, 0 nays.
All right, motion passes. Luann again,
Yes.
we got non-exempt overtime eligible pay policy.
Yes. So when we were approving the personnel policy handbook earlier this year, I appreciate all of the work that you guys did reviewing all of that. There was a policy that we reviewed that was outside of the handbook that was called the exempt employees pay policy, and this is the non-exempt employees pay policy because that was something that needed to be addressed as well. There is a blurb in the personnel policy handbook about it, but there was also a group of people that we were just talking about that are unrepresented.
That's what got me thinking about all of this,
That
was
weren't-
reading this.
Yeah, and it wasn't addressed because they follow the personnel policy handbook as their contract, basically, their employment rules. This policy helps cover the things that, they used to be in the exempt pay policy, and they are non-exempt employees. It wasn't appropriate for them to be in there. So again, just to try to clarify things and to get things where they belong, this is another standalone policy that just addresses those specific folks. And it also has the overtime eligible employee types of rules in there too that need to be followed.
Okay? Questions or a motion?
Move to approve.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any other discussion? If not, roll call.
Councilmember Fagerly,
Aye.
Nelson,
Aye.
Davis,
Aye.
Schuldis,
Aye.
Osk,
Aye.
O'Brien,
Aye.
Butterfield,
Aye.
Osmus.
Aye.
8 ayes, 0 nays.
Thank you, Luann. All right, next I'm going to call on Justice Walker, National Guard Armory Memorandum of Understanding, I assume.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. Yeah, so tonight is I'm asking you all to approve the memorandum of understanding, and I'll just kind of give you guys a brief overview of just kind of what this is and just kind of how this whole process just kind of came about. So several months back, the National Guard reached out to us inquiring about land for the city and, of course, asking if they could just be provided and donated. And so they're looking at upgrading a facility, upgrading their current facility in town, and this would be a project over the next few decades. And so this is just something that they like to have in hand just because things with the federal government, especially with the Army, have a ton of approvals, a ton of approvals. He really wanted to stress that. And so he was like, this isn't going to get built while I'm here. This isn't going to get built while you're here. That could possibly change depending on some other variables, but this is just something that we would like to secure very preliminarily. So just kind of talking about it. I mean, we talked several times. I think we got really close to a site that would work. We talked about the process, about us surveying the land and then how this could go, like what the transfer would look like. And then there was, well, I'm running into a bunch of approvals again. Let me get back to you. I got to ask about a dozen people. And then once I get some yeses, then I'll reach out to you. So it was radio silence for several months. And then they reached out just kind of with a memorandum of understanding of just kind of what would be the overview of the exchange. And so I guess I really want to define this as a a two-step process. And so this memorandum of understanding really kind of outlines the first part of the process of what they would get from the city. And so that would be the Exhibit A, the land that is out on County Highway 55. And then the second part, like I said, it would be more of the exchange, which is their current buildings, and then securing those buildings and then going from there. So this is really just a memorandum of understanding outlining the first step of that process. Like I said, this is very early, very preliminary. There are variables where this could be an expedite and happen in under 5 years, but I would say expectation would generally be 2+ decades away before anything gets constructed out there, unless some other things change. So with that, I'll turn it over to you for any questions.
Thank you, Justice. I see this as a real opportunity for the city to address some needs, and very nice, well-kept piece of property that could be a great advantage for the city. Questions? Councilmember Nelson.
Thank you, Mayor Reese. Excuse me. So it refers to the National Guard, but the Army Reserve is there too, and I know there's separate names on the building, but the buildings are connected. So are we talking about we're still talking about the whole thing, right?
Yeah, so that would be like in the second agreement. So tonight the memorandum of understanding more so addresses the vacant land kind of out on Highway 12, County Highway 55. And so what they want to construct is a joint facility, and they have several of these facilities in the state, and so they just want to combine them, put them together. And so there's a world where they only need 40 acres. There's also a world where they need 80 acres. So still kind of fluid, even though they've got several approvals on some things. But like I said, I mean, there's some variables that could change that could either increase their ask or also expedite the project. And so on the second part, it would be both buildings, yes.
So, Justice, is there additional divisions that are coming into it when they?
No, I don't think so. So I think it'll be the National Guard and also the Army Reserve. I think just from my understanding of talking with them, it would just be those two. They would just have like a joint facility out there.
Okay. Yes, Julie.
So is the issue, they're needing more space?
Yeah, and then there's also they're going through the same process in other communities where they're trying to secure land to update other facilities, and it's not going so well because other communities do not have the asset of city-owned land that we have. And so when you have to go through private property owners for land acquisition, it takes a little longer, a lot more fluid, could just all fall out from under them. And so there's a situation where if a city cannot secure the land that the National Guard needs, that could expedite the process on our end, and then this could be like a 3 to 5 year project instead of a 25 to 30 year project.
So it said historically that cities have always cooperated with the National Guard or the Army Reserve. Is there any reason we wouldn't, that we would charge something for the land? Everybody's shaking their head, no.
Yeah. And so that was my first inclination. It was very bold of someone to call and ask, hey, I'd like this land, and I also like it for free. And so I was just kind of like, well, why? And so he kind of gave me the backstory and gave me the history of it. But also we were kind of in a pretty good position where they would like to let go of those buildings as well. And so that was, at most, I don't think we ever get any, there's never going to be any monetary compensation, but we could get compensation in the land swap. And so that was something that we were talking about, City Attorney Scott and I, just kind of working out a different agreement that would really kind of define the parameters and kind of draft that. Because one of the issues with that is when you have such an elongated runway of this, we can't give someone rights to a property 30 years in advance before they're willing to turn over what we would get. And so kind of tricky from a legal standpoint, but something that me and Attorney Scott talked about that we'd have to address. And so normally, no, there is no monetary compensation. At most, I think it would be a land swap with buildings.
Okay. Now, and I know that's the second part of this, okay? But if we got to the point where we decided we didn't want the armory, the present armory, because right now I'm thinking, what's the acreage that we have at the present public utilities? Or public works?
Yeah, that'd probably be a question, maybe a better question for those guys, yeah.
And is the armory the same or more land?
I know what I think, but.
2.5 acres, let's see.
Shooting from the hip a little bit on the public works property, but I'd say it's like 6-7 acres out there where we're at.
Not that much?
But
Okay.
again, I'm shooting from the hip on that. Good farm person would know that, wouldn't they? I'm not that.
And what's the present armory?
6 acres,
6 acres.
Yeah.
a little over 6.
I'm
Public Works is about 13. How much? 13.
Really? Wow.
So, I get the, and again, I realize this is the second part, but if let's say that didn't fit our needs, not as much of a win-win, if we don't get their land and their building, because I'm thinking, okay, I get the bays where there could still be, the maintenance, but I'm not seeing what we're gonna do with the gymnasium and all of that office space.
Valid, yeah, and I guess for our part of it, it's either we don't participate and they ask another town and then they build this cool new facility there, or, we can kind of take what they give us. And so like I said, there really wasn't a lot of negotiation. He was just like, not paying you anything. That's not a possibility ever, so.
Okay.
The
We like having them in our city.
Leslie?
deposit with the Armory and the offices and such, there are, if you look into the future, the possibility of, right now, the EDC leases. Why wouldn't we have the EDC out on public land? Why would we not have maybe even the chamber leasing a space from us? Why not the Convention Bureau in our public space? I mean, there's lots of things that we can use a public space for. And we can lease it. You could have some lease rental also.
Aaron would like to speak.
Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council, I think it's a good potential to look at a swap for the future. The city owns 77 acres, but I think there's a couple of things that you need to keep in mind regarding it. I don't think you want to swap more land than necessary. So, for example, if you look at the layout there, Highway 12, the new Highway 12 crosses that. So part of this land would actually be to the north of Highway 12. So I think you'd want to keep it all to the south of the new Highway 12. And the other thing you have to bear in mind is with that Highway 12, there's right-of-way. So if you stay out of the right-of-way, can you get to the minimum, which is 40 acres out of the 77? And the answer is yes, you can. Also, there's a creek that runs north and south, and that may be something where you want to buffer. And then there's also land to the west that's arable land, probably around 8 acres, that I don't know if the city would want to give up. To the farther to the west is a right-of-way for a potential road in the future. If that develops, say, 15 years down the road, then I don't know if you want to give up that land to the west of the creek. So what I've highlighted here on this map is what is that basic minimum? Don't give up more land than you have to. It's 77 acres, but I think they could get by with 41. Just a thought.
Yep.
Thank you, Aaron. Julie?
And that isn't a piece of land that we would want somebody to put a business in? Or,
I would say, I mean, probably. I mean, it's an option there. So one of the issues with the site, or just something that just kind of comes with it, is there's never going to be access to the north. There's strong opposition to allowing any access to Highway 12 off of that site. So everything's going to have to come off County Road 55. And then, like I said, I mean, this is kind of what we came up with as far as land that would be a possibility. And so normally, like this is essentially just an LOI. So normally staff handles LOIs. If we get something, like, we'll sign it. But I think something just with a memorandum of understanding, just kind of this magnitude with the Army National Guard, this is something that we wanted to come to y'all and kind of get direction on, just because of, I think, like, the consequences of some of the decisions with this. And so I think kind of in the future with the MB rail development and kind of looking at that, I mean, there's a possibility of that. But like I said, I mean, there's initially, I think when we engaged them and we kind of had internal discussions around it, we thought that this could be an asset to the community. We thought that this could be an asset to the city, something that we could say, that we could mention that we have in our town and could be proud of. And so that was kind of like the leading thought for pursuing this. Like I said, not any monetary compensation, not future loss out. It was looking at this being an asset to the community and having this in our town. So.
All right, I had Tom on that first.
Well, getting back, talking about the auditorium at National Guard Armory, this could be a good chance, too, to help us move on with the city auditorium. You know, whatever we decide to do with city auditorium, you know, we decide to let it go, tear it down, we can move that over to this. For need be, it would be a backup situation for that, too.
Councilmember Nelson.
Thank you, Mayor Reese. Just seeking clarification now, the map that you gave us is different than the map that Mr. Backman talked about. So is there something in the memorandum of understanding that should reflect the right map?
When you say right map, do you mean like the approximate, like the 41 acres?
Yeah.
Yeah. So from all the discussions I've had, 40 is the minimum. But I want to be very clear. There is a possibility that they need the entire thing and that it's expedited, that this isn't just like a 2-decade project. And so I'll re-engage, I think it's Corporal Hauser, Major Hauser, I think it's Major Hauser, and then we'll talk about it. But 41 could be sufficient, 41 could very well not be sufficient. And so, I mean, there is part of this that is right away that doesn't really exist. And so, I mean, platted, it's not really 80 acres. But from a standpoint of what they need and what they may ask for, 41 acres may not be sufficient.
So what are we committing to in the memorandum of understanding?
So I would say, I think something that substantially resembles this, but I think, like, if there's like a significant deviation from this that I think we need to come back to council for, we will. It's not that like we're just going to act on this, that deeds are going to exchange hands. Like I said, I mean, me and Attorney Scott are still in the process of figuring out what this exchange contract is going to look like. And then I think also we need to agree about what the sunset date's going to look like, and then what that process is going to look like, especially if things change and like they move up the schedule from 25 years to 3 years, and then what does that look like for them relocating, et cetera. And so I think this is still a very preliminary agreement. Like I said, just really more has the binding ability of an LOI, but not really something that's like contractual of us like working towards handing them a deed tomorrow. There's still a lot of time to figure things out. Like I said, step one of like a 2-part process.
Any other questions? Julie?
how would they work around the creek? If they wanted the whole 70 or 77?
If
He said that they take care of these things. So this was something
Federal
that they
government
identified
can
that they
do what
wanted.
they want.
So
We take care of these things.
They can, you'd be amazed what they can do.
All right.
Not due to the water.
Aaron,
Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council, I would say that in terms of prospects that have talked to us, almost all of them have been east of the Y. I've had a couple, express interest near Highway 40, south of 40, for example, or north of Hawk Creek. But up to this point, up to the National Guard, it's been the only one that has looked at to the west of 55. So the other thing to bear in mind is we talked about infrastructure. How do you get water and sewer out there? That's a lift. As Jared and others know, we had a major project to get out to Epitopics. Now, so we've extended water and sewer along 55 going north of the new Highway 12, but this would require more work going south. And as Justice pointed out correctly, really probably the only entrance point would be on the southeast corner of the 41 acres that you see here.
Aaron, I got a question. This is just for sense of where we're at here. Just east of 55, there's parcel 95, 917, 5620.
Mm-hmm.
The north end of that, looks like a road or a ditch.
That's Hawk Creek.
That's Hawk Creek, okay. I couldn't make out what that was. Okay, thank you.
Yep. So, and I think there's things that you could do. I mean, you could reference the whole 77 acres, though it's less with Highway 12, of course. And maybe part of that to the west of the creek is a first right of refusal.
I got two of them. All right, thank you, Aaron. Yes.
Just clarify that for me. Is that something we need to do in this memorandum of understanding now? I'm sitting here thinking, is the 41 acres equal to the trade for the buildings? If you're looking at values, and if they wanted more than that. But I also heard a sense of, if we're going to get in line, we need to have it clear that kind of like they can do what they want. So I'm seeking for clarification of what we're committing to right now.
Right. If you were putting a price of, say, $9,000 an acre times 40, that gives you a rough idea of what that land might be going for city property. On the other hand, what is the 6 acres worth on Highway 71?
I know.
A bit more. So I think that's a fair comparison to look at. Okay, if you do a trade, what is that worth to the city? And if you have a building, even more so. So I'm just bringing this up as food for thought.
All right.
Question.
Yes, Mike?
I've been reading through this and I'm trying to figure out, okay, it could be 5 years, 3 years, it could be 20 years, right? If we take 40 acres off the market, so to speak, right, for the city. 20 years from now, they say, we're talking about the government here, right? All of a sudden, they say, no, we don't want to do this anymore. So all 20 years we've had this off the market, it's no-go?
Yeah. And so that's a part of the complexity and the nuance that me and Attorney Scott have discussed about how do we navigate something that is so far distant in the future without just shutting ourselves off from the opportunity, and also without having like the building in hand. Like if we're going to sign this contract and the building's not going to be vacated, then we're kind of operating on a lot of faith, and just contractually that doesn't really work very well. So just talking to Attorney Scott, like you said, it needed to be a new contract, something that he's had some experience with, but it's definitely something that we're gonna work together to put forth. But it's gonna require a lot of nuance because of what you said. I mean, if they pull out in 15 years or this gets expedited in 3 years, this could look a lot different. So we could come back to you all with a different memorandum of understanding. Like I said, normally in LOI situations, we sign them, like they're binding for like a short period of time, but with the magnitude of this, especially with the development of the Willmar Rail Park, just kind of in the background of this while this has all been happening, that does kind of change things, and it's different things to think about. And so I think if things rapidly develop and then there's all of a sudden a lot of interest on the west side of the Y project, maybe it doesn't make sense anymore for the city to enter into a swap. Maybe it makes sense for the city to maintain the land. But I think that's a decision that council would have to make. And I think that's why we're coming to you all with this proposition, and also with the transparency that this would be a very nuanced contract, just because of this land swap could be 3 decades in the future, and it could maintain a building that we don't know if we would want, if we would need at that time, et cetera. So there's just a lot of things up in the air with it.
All right, any other quick, Rick?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So this land, do we rent it out now? We get
Yeah, I think there's ag leases on it. Yep.
like 160 an acre, 170, something like that? Okay. So if they take it over, they can rent it out then?
I think it's all something that we'd probably put in the contract about who would retain ownership, because a big part of that is that if we're going to hand over the deed, we want to have the deed in hand. It's not something that we want to hand over the deed and then to where we open up the possibility where they can have the land and then in 20 years just say no. That's not going to be contractually acceptable for what we're looking at. And so I think like just with the nuances of that, those are things that are going to have to be spelled out and explicitly defined. So I mean, it's not going to look like any other contract. I think that like we've signed or entered into as a city.
Yeah. And then we aren't talking about their building, but what guarantee is it that they're going to maintain that?
It's the other part of it, yeah. And so we're not going to take a dilapidated building. There would be clauses in the contract that would outline that the building has to be in a certain condition, certain standards will be in place. And so, like I said, I mean, very complex contract.
And then you made a statement that you don't think they'd be able to get access on Highway 12?
No. Not that I don't think that. I know that. So talking to the county engineer, talking to MnDOT District 8, that is a hard no. And then the process that it would take to look at it, minimum 3-year review from the state. And then I offered that to the National Guard, and they were not interested. So on both sides, state said no. Minnesota National Guard, once they saw what it would take to get that reviewed, not even changed, just reviewed, the answer was no. So
Well, currently, they might not be able to get access. 10 years, it could change.
Could, yeah, possibly. There's a chance.
Because you're always allowed a right in and a right out. So I've been in enough court cases where I wouldn't say no.
Well, we've got Planning and Development Services Director Justice Walker on our side. So you got quite the name for presentation. So,
thank you.
All right. We have.
We need a motion.
What's that?
We need a motion?
We don't have a motion yet.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Okay, we got a motion and a second in regards to the memorandum of understanding for the National Guard Armory. Any further questions? Roll call.
Yeah, just wait. So this is just to go ahead with some of the planning with what acreage?
40 acres is in the MOU.
Got it. That's, okay.
All right, anything else? Roll call.
Councilmember Nelson.
Aye.
Davis.
Aye.
Schuldis.
Aye.
Osk.
Aye.
O'Brien.
Aye.
Butterfield.
Aye.
Osmus.
Aye.
Fagerly.
Aye.
8 ayes, 0 nays.
Motion passes. Next, we have introduction of ordinance setting a public hearing date for Bethesda rezoning. Justice?
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. So for this, I feel like I've been before y'all a lot with this particular request. So this is just introducing the ordinance and then setting the hearing for the rezone for Bethesda on July 17th. And so just a quick overview of that. So it's going to go from ag to limited business. And so the reason that it's not just another residential designation or the adjoining designation to the west and meeting the adjoining designation to the north of limited business. Limited business does not have a cap on units that can go in it. All the other ones have a cap on the units and it would have to be a PUD either way. And so to maintain being contiguous and also to allow the non-cap of units, because it's a two-phase project that will exceed 200, possibly meet 250 units, and so does not exist, not possible in our other zoning. That's something we should look at changing in our high-density areas of ratcheting up what can be allowed just through straight zoning or by right or by plan review. But in this current situation, limited business would be the best option for them to rezone to. So that's the thinking of staff behind asking for it to be or our advice to them for their request was to limited business and not one of the residential ones. So with that, turn over to you for any questions.
I'll make a motion to set the Bethesda rezoning public hearing date for July 17th, 2023,
Second.
We got a
at or
motion.
about 6:30 PM.
6:35.
6:31.
We had a second and a motion. Discussion. There being none, roll call.
Councilmember Davis,
Aye.
Schuldis,
Aye.
Osk,
Aye.
O'Brien,
Aye.
Butterfield,
Aye.
Osmus,
Aye.
Fagerly,
Aye.
Nelson.
Aye.
8 ayes, 0 nays.
That motion passes. All right, thank you, Justice. All right, approves plans and specs for authorized advertising for bids 2304B 19th Avenue Trail Project. Jared.
Good evening, Mayor Council. In your packets this evening is a resolution for exactly what the mayor just stated. If you recall, the city was awarded $500,000 in active transportation funds for the construction of a bituminous trail between 15th Street Southwest and 5th Street Southeast. The proposed improvement is the construction of a trail on the south side of 19th Avenue from 15th to 1st, and then the trail would cross over to the north side where adequate right-of-way and a significant less invasive project in terms of Willmar Municipal Utilities relocations would occur, and then that would extend over to 5th Street. So those plans and specs are ready for advertisement for bids, and that is the resolution in your packets this evening. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
All right, anybody want to make a motion or have a question?
I'll make a motion.
Second.
There we got a motion and a second. Discussion? There being none, roll call.
Councilmember Schuldis,
Aye.
Osk,
Aye.
O'Brien,
Aye.
Butterfield,
Aye.
Osmus,
Aye.
Fagerly,
Aye.
Nelson,
Aye.
Davis.
Aye.
8 ayes, 0 nays.
Thanks, Council.
Passes. Next, Jared again, professional services agreement 2024 improvement projects, feasibility report and preliminary survey.
I trumped Jared out on this one. Gary's here.
Thank you, Gary.
Yeah. Mayor and council, we're here tonight to ask for professional service agreement for the 2024 improvement projects and feasibility report and preliminary survey. And I can list the streets, kind of excited about. It's another big year. 10th Street Northwest and 13th Street and Grace Avenue Southwest, Rice Avenue Southwest, 8th Street Southwest, 10th Street Southwest, 20th Street Southeast, and 2nd Avenue Southeast, which are out by the EDC building or the Elks out there. And mill and overlay projects. The county is planning on doing Willmar Avenue and 7th Street. And, yeah, I don't have the rest of ours, but we have a list of mill and overlays as well that goes with that. So the resolution would be to approve the feasibility study and preliminary survey for $213,000. I want to make a note that in your packet, the resolution has a typo. It should be 213 instead of 131,150. So.
All right. We either discussion or introduction of a resolution.
Move to approve.
Okay, we have
Second.
a motion and a second by Nelson. And a question from Councilmember Butterfield.
On the 7th Street Southwest Mill and Overlay, when was the last time that was done? And
That would be a county project, and so I'm not exactly sure when that would be done. That's not a project we're doing, that's a project county's doing.
Okay.
Any other questions? If no further questions, roll call.
Councilmember Osk,
Aye.
O'Brien,
Aye.
Butterfield,
Aye.
Osmus,
Aye.
Fagerly,
Aye.
Nelson,
Aye.
Davis,
Aye.
Shoulders.
Aye.
Thank you, Gary. Motion passes. You just wanted to get up here one more time. I don't know how long. What's the last date? Gary isn't paying attention. I'm trying to give you a hard time and you're not listening to me.
How many more council meetings left?
My last day in the office will be August 11th, so I'll have the first council meeting in August yet.
All right.
Yeah.
When are we sending you off?
Well, that would be
Oh,
pretty much
party.
my last day that I'll have any worth to the city, I guess, so to speak, so.
Well, when are we going to have a party?
Oh, I believe there's a party scheduled for the 10th at the fire station. I just don't think they put it out yet, so the 10th in the afternoon.
I'm going to be in Canada.
Well, we can always go out for a cup of coffee.
We will
how's
go
that?
to Frida's, my
Yeah, yeah.
Okay,
I'm in on that. so.
all right.
Thank you.
Thanks, Gary. I'm sorry. Rob, you're going to tell us about the Minnesota DNR Trailhead Grant.
Yes, Mayor, Mayor of the Councils, last week I got some good news that we received the grant from the DNR for the Trailhead Bathroom and Shelter Project. So tonight, the motion is to approve a resolution accepting the DNR Regional Trail Grant totaling of $187,500. And we do have dollars set aside in the CIP fund for this, for the match, so. And the deadline will be to have it completed by June 30th, 2025.
I'll make the motion.
Whoop. Second.
All right, Rob, do we have to match this?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep, we have a percentage, there's a percentage in that we have, and that's what we put,
20%.
the 62.
Okay, so we're looking at
About $250,000. to be able to build.
250,000, and that would be the extent of the
For the bathroom.
Project.
Facility and a shelter.
It's the first phase.
okay.
Is this like our second or third time that we've,
Second time,
second time?
Yep.
We got approved this time.
yes.
That's awesome.
All right. I need an introduction of the resolution, I think. I don't think.
We do have a
do.
motion and a second.
Did they?
Yep.
Okay, so we've got the resolution in front of us. Any other questions? If not, roll call.
Councilmember O'Brien,
Aye.
Butterfield,
Aye.
Osmus,
Aye.
Fagerly,
Aye.
Nelson,
Aye.
Davis,
Aye.
Shoulders,
Aye.
Osk.
Aye.
8 ayes, 0 nays.
All right, that resolution passes. Thank you, Rob. Authorize staff to enter into an agreement with the International City County Management Association. Administrator Leslie.
Thank you very much. Good evening, council. So about a week and a half ago, ICMA, International City County Management Association, reached out to me and asked to feature Willmar at their annual conference. What that means is that they would like to come out here. They would do about an hour and a half to 2 hours of video shooting and produce a 5-minute video along with a 1-minute video, and it would be also to whatever we want to focus on, as such as if we wanted to focus on trying to get businesses to come to the area or focus on trying to get people to move to our area. And so they would compile all that, and then this video will be featured through the annual conference, which is being held, it starts the end of September through October 4th, so it runs about 4 days. And they also distribute this video to various businesses and developments that also that attend the conference or that ask. So this is not something new for the ICMA. They do this all the time. And the total cost is $24,300. I do have a commitment from the EDC for $2,000 at this time. I also have had a conversation with the Community Foundation, and they are willing to match also what the EDC has come up with. And then also I've had a conversation with the chair of Vision 2040, and he believes that this is a really good project also, and it looks like we would probably ask for about $10,000 from Vision 2040. So we would have almost over half of this committed.
I think this is, could be very beneficial for the city for development. Aaron, do you agree?
Yes.
Yeah, I think for what our investment in it is very little compared to the value of the video. Yes, Mike?
What about Rack 8? Rack 8 couldn't take this on?
Rack 8 does not video in high def. This is a high definition video, and Rack 8 does not have the capability of doing that.
Julie?
I think this is amazing, and I think it's an honor that they recognized us and selected us as a feature city. We're lucky.
Yeah.
And I think this is a great opportunity.
Councilmember Butterfield.
How have the past cities benefited from this that had to
Well,
pay for this and
as you know, these kind of things are hard to put into dollar amounts, but I think that the recognition that Willmar has out there, even nationally, I mean, we've been recognized in the New York Times and things like that, so I think our community is well known for our diversification and the things that we do here. So I'd say that we're going to really have a big impact on this convention compared to, we hit on all the points that they're looking for, except budget and transparency, and we're working on that. That's something that this city is working on with our new software system. So I see that we're going to be, we have economic development, we have the diversity, we have the housing issue that we're working on also. We have, right now, also trying to get workforce into our community. So that's where I see that this would be a big impact in that regard.
Any other questions? Audrey?
Just a comment, I'm supportive of doing this, and thank you for reaching out to find other people to help pay for this. And so I didn't hear who you said, someone said they would match the EDC?
The Willmar Area Community Foundation.
Okay, so if the EDC would raise their amount, would the Community Center Foundation raise their amount?
I can't answer that.
Well, I
can
just
ask.
see it really beneficial to the Economic Development Commission, both for the city of Willmar, but also for
Yes.
our area in Candido
Right.
County. And so
And then, yes.
just
and-
trying to be frugal. and
Yep.
Make sure that we can spend our money on other.
I'm sure Aaron will take that into consideration.
Well, you can consider that an ask, okay?
Also with this hour and a half to 2 hours video that we get control of all of this video. We get everything that they shot along with the 5-minute video and the 1-minute video. The 1-minute video, of course, is for the social media pages. And then we can use any section of all that other video. Rack 8 can use it because they can output in high definition. We just can't record in high definition.
Any other questions? If not, I need a resolution entering into an agreement with ICMA.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Here we got a motion and a second. Any questions? Not, roll call?
Councilmember Butterfield.
Aye.
Osmus.
Aye.
Fagerly.
Aye.
Nelson.
Aye.
Davis.
Aye.
Schuldis.
Aye.
Osk.
Aye.
O'Brien.
Aye.
8 ayes, 0 nays.
The resolution passes. Thank you. All right, Kyle, tell us about professional services agreement.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll be right there.
Could probably do it from here.
Double duty tonight, so. Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. Tonight, for council consideration, is a project that was identified last year in the 2023 CIP, which was for a drainage solution located out at the airport. And what this is a professional service agreement with Bolton and Mink to do the investigation and inspections, soil correct, or anything related to the soil or the drainage out at the airport. In your packet, you can see the map of what areas will be affected or what areas will be hopefully relieved of flooding. I do know that Public Works Director Manzer is very familiar with how the water comes in there in the spring, and so right now we're just trying to identify what we can do to alleviate some of that water from the private hangar area out at the airport. Like I said, this project was identified in the CIP for this year, so we're just moving and taking the next steps.
Haven't we had a drainage problem from day one?
I may have to defer that to...
With the building as well.
Yeah, we had it with the building. Gary?
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
I just said, didn't we have a problem with drainage at the airport, both at the building and out on the
Yes.
operations deck?
Yes. Yep. We had problems with water running into the main terminal and a lot of the hangars, and yeah,
We put in tile around it.
there's been some, yeah, around the main terminal, we tiled that, there were some window issues and stuff. And, this is the private, I call it the private hangar area to the south and east. And, we still have some drainage issues there. They tried to revamp some of the taxiways to get the water to flow, but it's just so flat through there. So it's just it's going to be a tile project. Eric had some ideas on how it would work. We kind of agreed on, but we felt it was to do it the right way, that we're going to get something drafted to make sure it's done right. Yeah, it's been a problem since the day one.
Well, we want to keep it well taken care of.
Correct, yeah.
When Aaron recruits Amazon, they come in here and they're going to fly 747s into our runway.
Well, I could attest to I was out there when they had the rail derailment in Raymond, and seriously, I walked in that terminal and I almost looked, in a smaller fraction, but there were so many people and luggage sitting there, you thought you were at the, MSP airport in a smaller version. There was 5 jets sitting out on the ramp, so it's a pretty important part of the infrastructure of the city of Willmar, so we need to take care of it.
Absolutely. All right, did we?
Nope, I'll make a motion to enter into approve a professional services agreement with Bolton and Mink for airport drainage improvements for $19,800.
Second.
We got a motion and a second. Discussion? Roll call. I should give you time to sit down, Kyle.
Councilmember Osmus?
Aye.
Fagerly?
Aye.
Nelson?
Aye.
Davis?
Aye.
Schuldis?
Aye.
Osk?
Aye.
O'Brien?
Aye.
Butterfield?
Aye.
8 ayes, 0 nays.
That resolution passes. All right, Kyle, just stay there and tell us about the resolution to acknowledge donations in the second quarter. I don't need you to have to run over to the...
That's all right. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The council typically adopts a resolution quarterly approving donations. This would be approving donations for the second quarter of 2023. And the resolution lists the amount, who the donations are from, and the purpose or what they are for. I can go by here from the donors here for Cinco de Mayo celebrations for Willmar Main Street. There were 3 donors of Vinci Lutheran Church, Hormel, Planned Parenthood, for Community Kids Summer Camp, Dooley's Petroleum, Hormel, Insurance Center, Marcus Construction, Nick Quinn Insurance, and Waltz. For Dogs with Dads was Dooley's Petroleum. Football jerseys and equipment, 100 Yard Inc. Movies in the Park, the Eagles Club, Northern Factory Sales, Waltz, Marcus Construction, Perkins Lumber, and for portable pitching mounds, WBFBA.
Move to approve, send a letter of thanks.
Second.
Okay, we got a motion and a second. We've got a great business community that stands behind our community and really greatly appreciate their contribution. All right. Any questions? We've got an introduction of a resolution, right? Roll call.
Councilmember Fagerly.
Aye.
Nelson.
Aye.
Davis.
Aye.
Schuldis.
Aye.
Haas.
Aye.
O'Brien.
Aye.
Butterfield.
Aye.
Osmus.
Aye.
8 ayes, 0 nays.
All right. Council members, any of you got any pride announcements? If not, we'll go to adjournment and close the session. And we'll need a motion to enter into closed session.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
All right, we got a motion and a second. Guess I read this first and then we vote, huh? Yeah. Closed meeting pursuant to Minnesota Statute 13D.05 Subdivision 3C to develop or consider offers or counteroffers for city's purchase or sale of real property and/or to determine the asking price for real property to be sold by the city. This portion of the regular meeting of the city council will be closed pursuant to that section of the statutes 13D.05 subdivision 3C. The following real property will be discussed separately in closed session. Parcel 95-921-5690. We need a motion to close. Do we have, somebody made a motion, right? Do we have a second? We got a motion and a second for the closed session. Do I do the motion now?
We'll need a roll call, Mr. Mayor.
But do I?
We'll need a roll
You want
call
the
vote.
statement first, right? The city council is now in a closed session pursuant to Minnesota statutes 13D.05 subdivision 3. The time is,
Oh, no, not yet. You got to have the roll call first, Mayor,
oh, that's what I was asking.
and then we go into the closed session.
All right, thank you. We need a motion to close the meeting. And we got that.
And we got the motion, we need a roll call.
There's no discussion? All those in favor, or roll call, sorry.
Thank you. Councilmember Davis.
Aye.
Schuldis.
Aye.
Osk.
Aye.
O'Brien.
Aye.
Butterfield.
Aye.
Osmus.
Aye.
Fagerly.
Aye.
Nelson.
She stepped away.
Stepped away. 7 ayes, 0 nays.
Okay, the motion passes. The city council is now in closed session pursuant to Minnesota statutes 13D.05 subdivision 3. The time is 6:57. In addition to mayor and city council, also present in the closed session are Leslie Valiant, city administrator, Kyle Box, operations director, Justice Walker, planning and development director, Aaron Backman, executive director, Candy Ohio County and City of Willmar Economic Development Commission. This meeting must be tape recorded. The minutes of this portion of the meeting should reflect only that a meeting was held on this agenda item with its date, time, and location, who was present at the meeting, and the purpose of the meeting. I will now call on staff to lead the discussion in regards to parcel 95, 921, 5690.